Ever wonder how a new YouTube channel gets launched? Well, here we are. And hang on tight. I'm Josh West, and this is Josh West 24/7. Let's go. Listen, my background is in automotive. I spent over 15 years in automotive sales and automotive management, working my way through the Legacy Dealership Network. Now, when I say legacy, I mean like all the OG brands. Specifically, I spent a lot of time with what's under the Stellantis brand now. So you've got your Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Fiat. We did a bit of Alfa Romeo, all that sort of thing. But I sold everything you can imagine: Lexus, Toyota, GM, Kia, Toyota, BMW. I'm sure I said Toyota. We'll say Toyota again. Toyota, all the different brands, Mercedes, everything. I didn't sell a Rolls Royce, but I sold pretty much everything else. And I saw plenty of them at the auction. So I did buying for the company. I did management, marketing, all that sort of thing. But previous to that, I spent a ton of time in sales. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit about that. I'll tell you this real quick. In high school, so this is going way back, I'm dating myself, but early like internet days, I actually built an online website. I think it was called like www, of course, back when we did that, www.thedodgespecialist.net. Back then I was just hugely into Dodge Vipers, Dodge Rams, all the concept cars, all that sort of thing. And I actually built this little website, and it was basically kind of set up like an online forum, and I was able to go in and people could ask questions and I would answer them. And here I am, this teenage kid answering all these automotive questions at such a young age. And, I realized early on that I had been blessed with a very unique gift. And that gift is being able to essentially retain data. So I can read a brochure and read a vehicle's specifications, and it just gets lodged up here, and it's a steel trap. I can tell you about 3.7 liter V6 that Chrysler was making in 1995. It was called the Magnum, the kind of horsepower. And anyways, it was not a very good engine. Anyways, stay away from that like the plague. But just to give you an example, I have the ability to kind of retain this information. And so I was able to help out these people online and regurgitate some of that for them. So that's like back in like high school days. I'll give you another example. I went to auto shows and things like that, and I was so into it. I had my Dodge shirt, and I'd be around the exhibits, and I'd be, so into the vehicles, and I would be answering people's questions to the point where they thought that I was part of the staff, that I was representing the brand. And again, this is just all in my early teen days. So I spent 12 years in automotive sales. So I started way back as a lot guy. So one of my co-op projects in high school, I worked for a BMW dealership and spent some time in their service department as a apprentice service advisor, learning the ropes there. Again, that was high school. And I spent some time at another local domestic dealership working as a lot guy. So I would work night shift after school, shuffling cars around and all that sort of thing. And I just loved to be around cars. So I've been a car guy from way back, but I spent 12 years in automotive sales. So I started at one dealership. It was a brand new dealer, kind of a startup. And actually, what's funny is I was there for, about 3 or 4 months, and the sales manager wanted to hire his buddy. And so we wanted to get me fired. Anyways, long story short, it didn't work out there. I ended up going to heavy equipment for a short period of time, about 3 years or so. And then ended up getting hired at another big volume Chrysler dealership, and decided I was going to just devote myself to becoming the absolute best that I possibly could be. And after about a decade and a half, listen, the hard work paid off. I broke so many records, sales and gross profit. I ended up being, for several years in a row, the number one salesperson in all of Canada for any brand whatsoever, any OEM. So that was Ford, GM, Chrysler, Mercedes. There was nobody that was selling more cars for more profit than I was. And I built a really loyal client base. I took really good care of my customers, and I was really passionate about the product and about the process. So I have a long history in Legacy Automotive, over 15 years. I moved from sales after breaking all kinds of records and essentially coming up to a ceiling of and a realization. I remember, I'll give you a little anecdote here. One day I came to my general manager, my boss, and I said, boss, I don't think I can go any higher. And of course, he's going to give me the words of encouragement. Oh, you got to do better. You got to do better. You got lots of room and this and that. And I knew that, I was working 80-hour weeks sometimes, and I was just putting in the effort, and I was doing everything that every sales book ever taught me. I was firing on all cylinders. I was working 6 days a week, getting help on the 7th if there was phone calls and text messages, fielding and that sort of thing. And I had no family life, and et cetera, et cetera. Listen, it was a crazy time, and there's a lot of benefits to it as well. So I do want to give it that balance, but I feel like I had hit a ceiling. And so I went to my boss and I said, I feel like I can't go any higher. And he gave me the typical response, and I reiterated, boss, I think this is it. And so I started planting seeds of like, listen, maybe I want to transition into something else. This portion of the job isn't really a challenge for me anymore. I feel like I've kind of figured it all out, and it's been firing on all cylinders, as it were. So I kind of put the bug in his ear that I was looking to, move into a management position, take on a new challenge of running a department for my own and that sort of thing, and see where I could go with that in my career. It would buy me a little bit more time with my family. Of course, it would take a pay cut, but to me, it was worth it. So back in 2018, I was given that opportunity. I was able to take over the pre-owned department, and during my early days there, we actually got a trade-in. And this trade-in was a little bit unique. It was a 2013 Tesla Model S P85. So it was a performance model, rear-wheel drive, big drive unit, really a cool car. And I had never been in a car like that before. Although I'll say that with one caveat. Several years prior, I did have a customer that gave me a ride in his original Tesla Roadster, which was phenomenal. I think that was back in 2011, before really anybody knew what Tesla was all about. So I'm very thankful to that. And Grant, if you're watching, thank you very much. You changed my life. But I took this 2013 Tesla Model S home and took it for a drive. And at the same time, we had actually had the 2017 Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid kind of come on the scene. And I was loving that vehicle too, especially when I could just drive it in electric mode versus running it into gas, because when you ran into gas, it was pretty noisy and rattly. Anyways, long story short, that drive completely blew me away. I had no idea that a vehicle could drive like that, perform like that, and use no gas. And so I spent some time and I looked into it quite a bit deeper, and I realized that this is the future and this is where things are going. So over the next little while, I started developing a plan to build an EV-centered, so an electric vehicle-centered portion of the used car department. So basically a dedicated department that just did electric vehicles. And so we started doing just that. I did get permission, got blessing from leadership there at the dealership, and we went to work. We spent a bunch of money, brought in a bunch of cars, and ended up being wildly successful, actually. We made a name for ourselves. In the community. We had a newspaper by the name of the Globe and Mail came down and wrote a multi-column article on me and the dealership, and talking about our electric vehicle department and how unique it was and how future forward it was, and just some really wonderful things. Unfortunately, as management transitioned at that dealership, some people that came into play didn't see it the same way that I did. They really felt that gasoline vehicles were never going to go away, and that electric vehicles were just a fad and more of a distraction. And so it was kind of at that point that we more or less kind of didn't see eye to eye any longer. And so I decided that it was at that time that I should make my move and leave Legacy Automotive for good. You see, what had happened was over that period of time that I was able to focus and learn more about what's happening in the electric vehicle world, the more my eyes were opened and the more my mind was open to understanding new concepts. So it wasn't just that it was this new technology, this new propulsion, a new type of engine. It wasn't just going from gas to diesel or propane or something like that. This was like a fundamental difference in the way you bought a car. And so that's what I want to share with you on this channel, is I want to explore some of the reasons why I know for certain that the Legacy Automotive Dealership Network is doomed. And I would like to share with you why I believe so, and to more or less ring the alarm, to warn people that are still working in the industry that your jobs are temporary. And this industry is moving so fast into a direct-to-consumer model, meaning that the vehicle is sold directly from the manufacturer to the consumer with no middleman, no dealership in the middle, skimming, adding profits, this, that, and the other thing. And we're going to get into all of that. I want to share with you all the deep, dark secrets of the dealership network. Everything that they don't want you to know, you will know. So follow along here and let's explore some of these other ideas. So in 2018, I got my eyes open. I drove my first Tesla. And because I was bringing them in for the electric vehicle department, I was able to take one as a demo and basically put, I was driving a ton of miles. I was driving about 35,000 to 40,000 miles a year, So about over 50,000 kilometers a year. Just commuting back and forth to work. So I was able to spend a huge amount of time in these electric vehicles. And it really educated me. I mean, I have been able to learn these things literally inside and out, front to back. Since then, I've done multiple road trips. In 2018, we actually purchased a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid that was great. It was a good vehicle. We hated it when it ran in gas, though, but we were able to run it mostly in electric mode because we had a upgraded charger installed at the house and that sort of thing. But it came to a point about 2 years into it that we were like, yeah, you know what? We're ready to go full electric. And so we purchased a used 2016 Tesla Model X. So it's the P100D, the performance version, and that just happened to be what was available. It was an off-lease vehicle that kind of came up as an opportunity for me, so we picked it up, and we still have it. We've got over 200,000 kilometers on that vehicle, and I can say it's been the most trouble-free, worry-free vehicle. Definitely when it comes to the fact that we can just refuel it in our garage, just plug it in, away we go. The other unique thing that I'll mention is that we actually tow with it on a regular basis. My wife uses it for her business and moves home furnishings and decor and all that sort of thing with a big 14-foot V-nose trailer. So they tow and they drive all over the place with it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And you know what? We'll do a video highlighting using an electric vehicle in a commercial business sense as well. We'll make sure we get to that down the road. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background as to how a guy that was like all about Vipers and V10s and Hellcats and V8s and all this cool stuff, superchargers and turbos and all that good stuff. And listen, I get it, I love it all, but how did a guy that was into all that, you know, the guy that had, I mean, I had 2 Cummins diesel trucks, you know, we had the Eco Diesels, we had 4 cylinders, I had a Jetta TDI, I have had all the different types of engines and fuel propulsion vehicles and that sort of thing over time. How does a guy like that go full electric and be like, oh, that's crap, you just got to go electric? Well, it's all experience based, and I'd like to share that with you. And we'll do some videos and kind of break down some of the pros and cons. And I think more than anything, I want to dispel some of the myths, some of the nonsense that's swirling around out there about electric vehicles, and some of the over-exaggerations when they're comparing gas and diesel vehicles to electric. I just want to kind of get into that, some of the nitty-gritty, and not from the standpoint of like somebody who's like, oh, I'm a tech fan, which is great. You know, they're into tech and their channels about tech and all that good stuff. Or someone who's like, oh, I'm all about the environment and climate and all that. And that's great too. And I get that and I respect that. But from somebody who came from the big oil burners, somebody who came from lighting up the tires on a Dodge Demon and just ripping it in a Z06 Corvette or a Porsche 911, that type of guy, how does a guy like that get converted to electric? And so you're going to find that out. So follow along on the channel. It's going to be an adventure. Definitely going to have some fun here. We're going to do some wild stuff. You know, I've actually got, I didn't even mention it, but I've actually got the Tesla Model S Plaid. So we're going to do some pretty cool videos with that. Some of the stuff you haven't seen before. And that's an incredible machine too. So we'll definitely do some highlight reels on that one too. But listen, if you want to follow along, you know what to do. And if you've got ideas for the channel, if there's something that you know that I would have experienced working in that dealership world, that old school world, and some questions that you want answered. Hey, I never knew, how do they do this? Why did they do this? Why do I have to shop at 10 different dealerships? Why do they go see the manager all the time? Blah, 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 negotiations, all that good stuff. Drop it in the comments down below and tell me exactly what you want to know. I'm going to tell you all the dirty, dark secrets about Legacy Automotive, from the corporate level to the dealer level, right to what the consumer experiences and what you don't see behind closed doors. Listen, follow along. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I worked in Legacy Automotive for 15 years, but I got up to a few other things as well. I was fortunate enough to get into real estate investing earlier on and get into long-term rentals. Since then, I've dabbled in Airbnb and Verbo, short-term rentals, gotten into Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the cryptos. had some wonderful success with Tesla stock, and a variety of other things that I'd love to share with you on this channel. We're going to run through a variety of other videos and specials and series and things like that. So make sure you follow along. I've got a wealth of information that I can't wait to share with you. I'm Josh West, and this is Josh West 24/7. Thanks for following along. We'll catch you in the next video.